Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Tonight we're going to talk about my favorite kind of vehicle, original and unrestored. This is a 1959 Oldsmobile Super 88. This is not the top of the line nor the bottom of the line. It's sort of the, well, I guess, middle of the line. I got this from a doctor whose father bought the car back in 1959. He kept it his whole life. He passed away at the age of 92. The car was kept in Massachusetts, where cars tend to rust out fairly quickly, especially cars in the 50s. But he so loved this car, he would garage it in October or the 1st of November, and then take it out maybe the middle of April. The doctor who I got it from, whose father owned it, had to simonize this car every couple of weeks. It's original chrome, original paint. It's got about 97,000 miles on it. I've really done nothing to the car, really, except, well, I put air conditioning in it, a bigger alternator, and just kind of tuned it up a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty much as it left the factory. In fact, here's a picture of the gentleman who had the car. These pictures were taken in the mid to late 90s. John Mortis was his name. Very nice man. His son is a pretty famous doctor. And he wanted the car to go to a good home, so he contacted me. And I have kind of a thing for 59 Oldsmobiles. When I was a little kid, these are the kind of cars people drove. My dad had a friend named Mario the Carpenter, Italian guy with kind of the slick back hair, and he used to keep the Marlboros rolled up in the sleeve, and he's a big, handsome guy. And he had one of these in a convertible. And whenever he would drive by, I heard my mother say once that women would swoon whenever Mario drove by in that Oldsmobile. The women would swoon and pass out. So one day, Mario was at our house having dinner, and there were a couple other people there. And being a kid, I kept watching the women, you know. My mother said, "What are you doing? Why are you staring at those people?" I said, "Mom, you said every time Mario comes over, women swoon and pass out. I haven't seen anyone swoon." Of course, my mother, she's so embarrassed now. She runs out of the room, just humiliated that I've said this. And of course, Mario, very cool. And it was just one of those stupid stories. But anyway, so I've always had a fondness for 59 Oldsmobiles. This was the classic leaner, lower, wider. This is a big car. And it's not even the biggest GM car. This was 1959 when I think it was the first year all the GM cars shared basically the same body, and it was up to different divisions like Buick and Oldsmobile to come up with different front ends and different rear ends. Remember, Cadillac had the huge fins. Oldsmobile sort of toned it down a little bit. And this was a reaction to the Chrysler cars of the 50s. You know, Chrysler had such a huge impact in 57, 56, 57, 58, that GM and everybody scrambled to change their cars. The 58 GM cars, the Buick, the Oldsmobile, those were the big chrome barges. They sort of, if you can believe it, toned it down a little bit for 59. Not quite as, not putting the chrome on with a trowel like they did back in the day. I think it's unibody from here back, as I remember. Big 394 cubic inch Oldsmobile engine. This was back in the day when all the GM divisions would fight and argue over who had the best motor. Buick built the 401, Oldsmobile built the 394, Cadillac built their motor, Chevy built the 283. You know how that worked. Now they all sort of share the same V8. The Rocket 88 made quite a splash in 49. It had the overhead valves when most cars were flatheads. In fact, I've got a funny piece of video. You know my Hudson Hornets, these cars here, take a look. Well, it's a film strip that shows a Hudson mechanic tightening the head of a flathead 6, and then they pan over to the Oldsmobile Rocket 88, and the mechanic's going, "All these valves to adjust, this thing is so confusing." And the other thing going, "You should have bought a flathead." You know, and didn't really work out. I think the overhead valve thing pretty much took over. But there was a song out called Rocket 88 about the Oldsmobile Rocket 88, and it was actually I believe it's considered the very first rock and roll song. A little bit of odd trivia, and of course Oldsmobile capitalized on that with "Make a Date" with the Rocket 88, and everything had a rocket jet theme to it. You know, this is a pretty nice driving car. It's amazing how comfortable. You have that classic kind of boulevard ride. I mean, you're not going to win any gymkhanas or sports car contests with it, but you You could put 8 people in this thing, no problem. That's what's fun about it. I like that it's a 2-door. The trunk is enormous. In fact, I have a family of 3 living in the trunk now. So that's the nice thing about it. I mean, it's just a huge car. To think that so many people took their driving tests on these things, it just makes me laugh. Well, let's take a look at the rear end of this thing. It even says Row Auto Sales, New Haven, Connecticut. I love the big handle here. You put your key in. Anybody home? Yep. Coming in, landlord. No, they've obviously gone out for the day. But as you can see, look at this. It's an enormous trunk. It's hilarious. You could put everybody you know in here. Your fuel filler is right here. And that's the original chrome. It's amazing what nice shape it is. This massive handle here. Look at this thing. You just... And of course, these tail lights. I mean, how cool is this? This 50 styling is just fantastic. This was the sort of golden age. You know, the war was over. We'd won the war. We're going to go to the moon. I mean, we're just shooting for the stars. Styling was outlandish, crazy. Lots of chrome, big engines. Just a fantastic car. There's a massive door. I love that steering wheel. The steering wheel is hilarious. That was actually considered a safety wheel, because the steering column wouldn't go through your chest like a sword. You sort of had these 2 things here that would, and your horn right on the, and that's a horn. And by the way, none of this European beep beep stuff. That's a massive horn. And of course, the red and white and black interior. That was redone. What we did was we took original parts of the interior and kind of blended it with some new material. Once again, we get our air conditioning from Vintage Air. They make these fantastic kits that fit just about any car. This is a sort of GM 50s model. As you can see, they look like the original pieces. It's just unbelievable. That's a hood. And as you can see, we've cleaned up under the hood a little bit. I'm still waiting for the Oldsmobile sticker that goes on the air cleaner. Painted the valve covers, kept the power steering the way it was. As you see, we put in a much bigger alternator, and we put in the air conditioning unit. So we haven't altered the car. These did come with air conditioning. You can go back to stock if you really want to, but it makes the car much more livable. Have not touched the engine. Engine has not been opened up at all. What we did was, you know, it was missing, and we couldn't figure out why it was missing, and there was a vacuum leak. Now, under here is your big 4-barrel. This thing is 394 cubic inches, 315 horsepower, which is quite a bit, actually. Okay, take that off of there like that. We took the carburetor apart, and we noticed whoever did the job last had this gasket on. This gasket is real close to the original gasket, except the original gasket does not have this. The original gasket is a perfect circle, and this is blocked off, so it's like that. And what was happening was, with this gasket on, we were just sucking air, so at idle, it would just, we couldn't figure out why it wouldn't run smoothly. Got a gasket kit, replaced it, runs fantastic now. So always make sure you have the right parts. You know, a lot of times you bring your car to a mechanic and he orders something, he doesn't feel like calling the guy back or paying for the gasket himself, so they just stick it on. I think that's what happened here. Always want to clean out your oil breather as well. As you can see, we did that. Let's throw this away so it doesn't get used again. And pretty bulletproof car. As I said, this has got 100,000 miles on it, and it runs like new. As you'll find out right now. I love this era of car. Everything was Futurematic, Easomatic. You know, everything was O-matic. You know, it really is a comfortable car to drive. You could take a trip in this now. You know, I drove this on a 100-mile trip a couple of days ago, and it was fantastic. And when you pull up the Honda Civics, people go, "Stop!" because the thing is so huge. You got 10-to-1 compression, 394 cubic inches. None of this liter stuff. This is cubic inches. I mean, this is the definition of power steering. There's absolutely no road feel of any kind. But you can drive it with one finger, and you know, it's quite pleasant. These people think it's the bus pulling up, it's so big. But you know, everything works on it, all the gauges. clock works, radio works, and the gas pedal works. My friend in high school, Fred Greeley, his mom had a big Wildcat, Buick Wildcat with the, I think it was at the 455, and we used to go to the shopping center parking lot, put it in neutral, rev it up, drop it in gear, yay! Just burn rubber, and then one day the transmission fell out. We were like, we don't know what happened. How could that have happened? You know, these cars got such a reputation for being rust buckets, and I guess they were, but if you took care of them like Dr. John's dad did, it would last you, look at this, 50 years. I feel like Mario the Carpenter in this thing. Doesn't corner bad. The fact that it cornered at all is amazing. Okay, now this car is in its element, cruising on the freeway. You know, you could take a trip in this like it was a modern car. It's quiet. You know, this thing really turns heads because you don't see cars that look like this anymore. There's a Camry in front of me, and I have about a foot on each side. Look how wide it is. This is a car you really miss the electric windows because you actually have to undo your seatbelt and crawl over there to put down the window. This was the birth of the Pontiac wide track as well. I mean, this is real styling, this steering wheel, isn't it? And you got a speedometer that changes color the faster you go. I'll show that to you. There's your generator, your oil, your temperature, hot, cold, fuel. 97,000 original miles. Engine's never been opened up. John, you took real good care of this car. What Vintage Air does is they let you hook the air conditioning up to your original controls. See, we pull the control unit out here, and you send them this, and they hook it up so electronically these switches will control your air conditioning. It's very cool. I've written on here with magic marker just to remember what switch will do what. But this way the car looks all original, and you still have your air conditioning. See, your fan switch here now runs your air conditioning. And obviously heater in the winter. Yeah, it's really a pretty cool setup. It's a great company. Massive glove box. Oh my God. Look at that. You got fuzzy dice, everything you need right here. Watch the speedometer change colors the faster you go here. See, it's green now. And then when you get up to about, oh, what, 40 miles an hour? Ooh, orange. And then, oh, faster, go 50. Go 60 miles an hour, it turns red. Danger, danger! Oh, we put Dynamat under the rug here. That Dynamat works terrific. It's a sound insulator and a heat insulator, and I guess a cold insulator too. It really makes your car a lot quieter. It's got, you stick it on the floor basically like you would tape almost, and it insulates and works as terrific sound deadening. And here's something you don't have anymore, wind wings. Remember these? Once again, thanks to Vintage Air for this great air conditioning unit. It works terrific. And a special thanks, of course, to Dr. John and his dad for showing that, you know, a piece of history can be saved. They did a great job doing it. And I'm sorry I never got a chance to meet Dr. John's dad, but he was a great guy to save a wonderful piece of history like this. And he passed that on to his son, who then passed the car on to me. So anyway, I'll see you guys next week. Hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. See you later.
Mm-hmm.